That one of our team said, "Holly, you should take this home." And I'm like, It was beautiful. It was beautiful, purpley color. I'm like, okay. So we got it to the house very carefully. I walked just like this, and I heard that you're supposed to talk to plants. So I was going, "You are beautiful. You are beautiful. You're amazing." And I put it very calmly on the table, and I stood away. And then I read, here's another little tip, that with orchids, you're just supposed to put an ice cube in there. Because it helps with all. See, you learned something else today. The things you learn in church, right? And so I would put this ice cube in, and it would melt, perfect amount of water, and it stayed blooming. Like a whole week it bloomed. I'm like, got this. I'm a master horticulturist. Amazing. And then for a couple of weeks it's blooming. I'm like, whoa, I've got it down. It's amazing. A month later it's blooming. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm awesome. And then I've been putting the ice cube in like every 4 days. And then somebody comes to the house and hits that table and the plant falls over. I'm like, what? And then I go down to pick it up and it was plastic. Duh, Holly, you kill plants. Why would I give you a real one? Anyway, we all have our strengths, Charlie, and you are special. All right, have you ever been in the middle of a really hard time or just under pressure, just felt the pressure coming against you? When maybe there was so much coming against you, whether it's in your relationships or your job or your finances. I think that who we really are comes out under pressure. Because some people, when they're under pressure, they explode with violence or anger, or they just kind of collapse into like a puddle. Submarines keep from collapsing by building up the pressure on the inside, because if they didn't, they'd just be crushed by the outside pressure. One of the most challenging verses to me, it's actually an annoying verse in the Bible. The Bible does have some annoying verses. This is one of them. It's never been on a t-shirt. This, James chapter 1, says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, when you face trials of many kinds." Many kinds, like relationship problems, marriage problems, loss of job, financial problems, medical diagnosis, the many kinds. Because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. When I look at that verse, I realize that maturity doesn't come from how much you know or how old you are. Maturity comes from what you persevere through. And perseverance only applies to the hard stuff. Right? I've never had to persevere through a massage, like ever. Or my husband's never had to persevere through a football game. He just loves it. Right? So basically that verse is telling us that we're supposed to let pressure produce good things. When we evaluate our leaders, be it scholars, historians, or the average person, the greatest leaders are often determined by the magnitude of the crisis in which they led. In our country, Abraham Lincoln was one of our presidents, and he was acknowledged as a great leader, and it was primarily because of his direction during a time when our country was being ripped apart by civil war. And Winston Churchill, here in this nation, he was recognized as a great leader, in particular because of his guidance when this country was at war. So when we go through difficulties, we think that life is terrible, and it certainly feels that way. But it was the difficulties that these men faced that actually led to their greatness. And I'd like to suggest that there is greatness within you. And it will be revealed in the midst of the challenge you're going through. Greatness, or its opposite, will be revealed in the midst of pressure. At one point in his life, the Apostle Paul was a prisoner in Rome. And he was imprisoned for his faith, and ultimately, he would be beheaded. And while he was there, he wrote letters to the churches, some of which he had started. And many people call these books the epistles, the prison epistles, Ephesians and Colossians and Philippians. And in the last chapter of the book of Colossians, he encourages us. He encourages the people with 3 thoughts. And this is someone, the Apostle Paul had navigated some horrible, really challenging, hard times. And he had given his life for his faith in Jesus. So I'm thinking, If there's anybody we should pay attention to about how to navigate pressure, it is the Apostle Paul.